what is happiness? And what exactly does it mean to pursue happiness? And why are so many people in the pursuit of happiness unable to find it? How can we be happy regardless of the job or size of the house or the type of car that we drive? And lastly, how is it that someone can have everything in life and still be unhappy? Everyone wants to be happy, but they might be looking for it in the wrong place. The key to understanding happiness, then, is to realize happiness is not something external, but rather happiness is an inside job. Such was the realization for my guest today, Karyn Seitz, who had a profound realization in her early 30s that the root cause of her unhappiness was her. It wasn't her job, it wasn't her career, her hobbies, her friends, or her family. It was her. When she understood this, everything changed in her life, including at long last to be able to lose the excess weight that she had been carrying around for years. In today's episode, we'll take a deep exploration into happiness and answer those questions above. We'll talk about Karyn's profound realization of what it takes to be truly happy and the mistakes she was making for so many years. And by the end of this episode, you'll be able to understand what it truly takes to be happy. And this is true regardless of the job, the family situation, or whatever else you may have going on in your life. After trying for years to get better, including yoga, healthy eating, exercising, meditation, even becoming a licensed Reiki healer, nothing was working for Karyn. She knew she wasn't getting the changes she wanted in her life, and she secretly lacked any confidence in her ability to change. On the outside, things looked great, but on the inside, Karyn knew deep down all these things were not working. In a fresh new search for answers, Karyn found the missing piece that would transform her life and the life of her clients. There is something very profound in owning that she is the problem in her life. This awareness pushed her to confront herself and get serious about herself and her life. Karyn is now fulfilled and teaches others to be the same. She is a happiness mentor and teaches an online course for women called Awakened Grace. Her website is www.ahappinesscourse.com. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome again. This is Coach Brad. Thank you so much for being here. Before I get to our guest today, I was just, it's crazy how life works. I was just having this conversation with a friend the other day, and we were asking, what is happiness? Like, how do you be happy like all the time? Like, not just like, if you're doing a certain thing or with certain people or whatever, but how do you truly be happy, all the time? And I didn't think much more of it, and, hung up the phone with that friend. And I thought, I better check my schedule, see who I've got on the show this week. And then lo and behold, the way things work, I have got a happiness expert with us today. So Karyn, thank you very much for being here today. I really appreciate it. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, Brad. It's great to be here and looking forward to talking with you.
Yeah, so I was teasing a little bit off camera. You had your epiphany in your early 30s, and it wasn't until I think I was about 38, 39, maybe 40 when I had mine. But I'm really, really fascinated to hear about your story and your epiphany and what you have learned about this crazy thing called happiness. Because literally everybody seems to be searching for it, like pursuing it, the pursuit of happiness, but nobody seems to be able to find it. So Karyn, take us back to the beginning. You were, I guess, in your early 30s, and this is the funny part I mentioned in the intro too. You were trying everything, the yoga, the self-help, the seminars, nothing was working. So take us back about what, I guess, what was that, about 10 years ago now, or?
About 10, just about 10 years ago.
Okay.
I'll start where the epiphany started, and we can work backwards a little bit if we need to of what really led to that.
Okay, sure.
So when I was 30, I'm 39 now.
Okay.
When I was 30, I had been doing everything. Not only had I been doing everything to work on myself, to try to feel good about me and to be happy, I trained in everything and got certifications and had my own healing practice. So
oh, wow.
my journey had really taken, I was a certified yoga teacher. I was a shamanic practitioner. I was a
Wow.
certified Reiki master. I was training in intuitive work and psychic work. I taught meditation. I read every book that anybody told me to read. I was, hot on Amazon ordering it and getting within a few days and doing all these things myself in my own life, not to mention clean eating,
Yeah.
exercising, going to the gym, because I also had a huge challenge and struggle with my weight and accepting myself for who I was and my body. I saw therapists. I was doing it all and had a healing practice. And it all came to a head when I was 31, where deep down I felt like a huge fraud and a huge imposter because I had this wonderful spiritual facade that I had it all together, and people were coming to me for their answers and coming to me for help and to try to heal and do better in their lives. And I couldn't do the very things I was teaching them to do. And what I mean by that, they weren't working. They weren't working on the inside. I still felt incredibly insecure about myself. I lacked confidence. I often say I felt like a little girl trapped inside a woman's body.
Hmm.
Felt very discouraged in my life and felt like I was going around in circles. The things was doing would make me feel good or good. Maybe, like yoga, I'd feel good for an hour after. But then as soon as life hit, I was a mess again and second guessing myself and doubting myself. And so at 31, I very much had a 30 something crisis
Hmm.
where I thought, is this just going to be my life where I'm constantly working on myself, trying to get better and just running into the same insecurities, the same patterns, feeling horrible about who I am, feeling horrible about who I look. And I'm going to pretend to be helping other people and that I've got it all together. And oh my God, is this going to be, is this going to be my life?
Yeah.
Um, and that's where I started to have an epiphany and really actually had an awakening.
And what was going on when you had the awakening? You
Mhm.
mentioned, were you at home or?
Yeah, I actually got very sick.
Okay.
So in 2014, I had a 3-week period where I was completely bedridden, with a fever that would not break, a migraine that could not be touched and would not go away. I
Wow.
was very stubborn and like, I'll be fine, I'll be fine. And eventually, my husband had been, pushing me all along, like, you need to get some help. Like, this is not going away. You need to seek help. And eventually, he said, Karen, we're going to the emergency room. You need to go see a doctor now. And got me in the car. And first, we went to an urgent care. And I was there for about 20. Yeah, this is how stubborn I was. And we went to an urgent care here in Denver. And I was there for maybe like 20 minutes, Brad. And they were like, you need to go to the ER. So they thought I had meningitis. So went to the ER. I'm very concerned at this point, sending messages out to my family, friends. Please pray for me. I'm very scared. And my husband's very scared. And in the ER, they're pumping me full of like heavy duty pain medications.
Hmm.
Nothing is touching my migraines. I'm actually in worse pain, excruciating pain, feeling very out of it and spacey and loopy at this point too. And they said, we're going to do a spinal tap. And I had an idea of what that was. I was very freaked out. And they come in with a needle,
Yeah. Big needle. I know
a
that.
big needle, like a foot
Yeah.
long. My husband's eyes are very big. He's having to hold me still because you can't move. So they do a spinal tap. The test results come back clean. And they run all these other tests and they couldn't find anything wrong with me, even though I had, I think at that point, 103 fever, this migraine that wouldn't go away. I was a mess. They said, must be some sort of super virus. Just keep resting. You'll get through it. And I look back in hindsight now, Brad, and I realize that my body was very much, and in my belief, I believe God was very much trying to wake me up and shake me awake to say, Karyn, you are on the wrong path. What you are doing is not who you are. It's not working. And you're actually harming yourself in what you're trying to do and how you're trying to live your life, because I was so disconnected from myself. And at that time, it was very fortuitous. That was the time that I met my mentors, David and Peggy, who were the first people to help me to see that my answers were in me, that they weren't in the healers, they weren't in yoga, they weren't in meditation, they weren't in the books. Not that there's anything wrong with those, it just wasn't a path that was true to me and it wasn't working. And they said, your answers are inside of you. You are your answer that you've been searching for. They were also the first people to help me see, Karyn, you are the problem. It's not your past. It's not your past lives. It's not your upbringing. It's not your weight. It's not your genes. It's you. It's your choices and decisions that have created how you feel about yourself on the inside, and that you are struggling and so stuck in your life. And that was a paradigm shift. And I believe the awakening I went through and getting sick was a way of me kind of energetically getting aligned to be able to step onto this new path, which now I call the path of being happy.
So wow. So this awakening, did this happen like in an aha moment at the hospital, or kind of when you met
Mm-hmm.
your mentors? And
Mm-hmm.
again, the awakening exactly was what? That you are the problem?
The awakening was I am the problem
Yeah.
and that my answers are in me. And it was an unfolding over that month of the awakening. It's as if
Oh,
the getting sick was the wake up call of what are you doing, and if you keep on this path, you're going to end up actually very sick. And then coupled with that, meeting my mentors that month for a workshop that they were hosting, and I was a big seeker, so anything I could put my hands on, I was there. And it was just a truth, like just pure truth hitting me and shaking me awake of you need a new path. What you are doing is not working, and that you're the problem, and it's time to start working, really truly working on you and figuring yourself out. And this was the path to do that.
and wow. And so what was the next step then? Did you go back to meditation and say
Mm,
what's like wrong with me, or what did you do to become happy then, I guess?
yes.
To get
So
on the right path, I guess.
I did. So I had to start taking responsibility for my choices and decisions that I had made in my life, that had created the very life that I had, and really begin to embrace my life, embrace my personal challenges, weight being one of them, to learn and grow about myself, that these challenges, these struggles were in my life as teachers for me to really get to know who I am and realize that all the struggles, all the issues, all the insecurity were windows into myself of how bad I felt about myself on the inside. I had always tied how bad I felt about myself to the outside and how I looked. And I had to start seeing it was the choices and decisions I was making in my life that actually created the insecurities and how bad I felt about myself. And what I discovered in working with my mentors of why I was so unhappy, even though I had very much a happy facade that I would put on to the world and to myself, was how I had been looking to my outside world, including meditation, yoga, all the spiritual work, grabbing to that outside of me to give me meaning and purpose about myself, which I call external value, looking to the things and people in our lives to create meaning and purpose for ourselves and make us feel good about ourselves. And the problem in that is then it's like we're a bucket with holes in it. And we're looking to our outside world, which is always changing, always fleeting, trying to fill ourselves up with these things and people outside of us, and it just leaks right out. And who I become,
I get it. Yeah.
right? And who I become and trying to get that meaning and purpose filled in me outside of me was actually manipulative, controlling, not being myself, being who I thought I needed to be to get approval, acceptance, validation, all unknowing, all unconscious. And that made me feel really bad about who I was. And then I had no internal self value. So I had to make the lifestyle change to start looking for my value and who I am and making choices and decisions in my life that allow me to grow and learn and expand and become the best version of myself as a way to start to create that internal self-value and feel good about myself. And that's how I began to actually be happy and be a full cup or bucket with no holes in it, because I was actually connecting with myself for the first time. And what was fascinating about that is as I took that journey to start to feel good about myself on the inside, I started to drop the weight I had been carrying and started to feel good about myself and my body as a natural response to feeling good about myself on the inside. And that was a fascinating journey to start to take, to see that actually my internal happiness was the solution to all the problems I was having in myself and in my external world. Just looked a lot different than what I was trying to do before that.
So take me inside the internal world then, because I
Mm-hmm.
know there's a lot of people, like everybody says, you want a happy, healthy life, whatnot, do the yoga, do the meditation, read the self-help books, do everything you did,
Mm-hmm.
and none of it worked. I love your
Mm-hmm.
metaphor. It's a bucket with holes in it. So you were taking
Mm-hmm.
all this in from the outside, and it was just rushing through you, and you realize it's not the outside, it's the inside, which I always try to stress that now. It is the inside. But take me in your inside world journey then. After you had the aha moment, the awakening,
Mm-hmm.
how did you begin chipping away to increase your self-value so that you
Mm-hmm.
realize that you are worthy and that the weight started to come off and all that?
Yeah.
What did the inside journey look like then for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the main things that I had to learn to do is something that, and I know this phrase is used in other places too, so I'm not taking credit for the phrase, but it's a concept that I teach and that I live by that was crucial in working on the inside from a place of then I wasn't making it about the external things I was doing. And my journey with my weight loss is a great analogy and example of it. So my weight was very much a reflection of how I felt about myself. I thought it was the weight making me feel bad about myself, but I had it backwards. It was me feeling bad about myself on the inside, and who I was the reason that I was constantly putting on weight, that my weight was from emotional issues. And because I felt so bad about myself on the inside, my weight was this protective layer
Mm-hmm.
against the outside world to protect myself, to be able to play small, to be able to hide. I often say my weight was an excuse for me to get out of just about anything in my life. Like, oh, when I lose 20, 30 pounds, then I'll go speak and get up in front of people. When I lose 20, 30 pounds, then I'll be more intimate with my husband. When I lose 20, 30 more pounds, then I'll go visit family. Like it was just this overall excuse in my life. And it was really a mirror into how bad I felt about on my inside, or how bad I felt about myself on the inside, because I lived my life doing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I called freedom. It's what a lot of us call freedom. Like I can remember being a kid being like, I can't wait till I'm an adult. I just do whatever I want. And that's very much then how I lived my life, like a grown-up child. I often ask my clients, what does this statement sound like? I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And they always say, like a kid throwing a temper tantrum. I was like, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's and living my life that way enforced this message that I didn't matter to myself and I wasn't important to me because I had no structure and I had nothing guiding me forward of where I wanted to go. When we do what we want when we want, we go around in circles and we work against ourselves. So in my journey to start to feel good about myself on the inside, I had to learn this concept, parenting myself.
Okay. Okay. What do you mean
Yeah.
exactly?
Parenting myself is doing the things I know I need to do, even when I don't want to do them,
Okay.
which means I have to catch myself in my temper tantrums, which who knew as adults we have temper tantrums of, oh, don't make me do it. I don't want to do it. Whether that was getting myself outside my comfort zone or having tough conversations in my marriage or having a tough conversation with a family member or putting my clothes away at the end of the day or making my bed. And instead of making it about the external of like, oh, check the box, I'm doing the things I need to do, it was actually an internal experience of parenting myself, like almost sitting myself down like I would a loving parent with a child and saying, hey, I know you don't want to go take a walk right now. And I know you would rather just put Netflix on and binge out. But that's going to make you feel really bad about yourself because you're going to know you're not following through with your word to yourself. And you're showing yourself you're not important enough to actually go do something that makes you feel really good about yourself and that you actually enjoy. So get your shoes on, turn the TV off, and let's go for a walk. That's parenting yourself. And in that choice, and in that process, because you're not the militant parent, you're not the authoritarian, you're the loving, stern parent that's helping hold yourself accountable to the things that make you feel good about yourself when you follow through. And as I started to do that process, Brad, that's what allowed me to start to realize I'm worth it. I'm worth following through with myself. I'm worth doing the things that make me feel good about who I am. And I learned how to choose myself, not in a selfish way, but choose myself of the choices that are in integrity with who I want to be, the character I want to have as a person, not for anything outside of me, just for me. And in that, I started to feel really, really good about who I was on the inside. And from that place, my whole life started to change. My marriage changed dramatically. My relationships with my family changed dramatically. I started to lose weight and just find my natural weight, not my like optimal ideal weight that I imagine myself to be looking at the magazines of, women in Cosmo and thinking like, oh, that's how I need to look. Like just becoming Karyn and the natural weight that's good for Karyn, that's bigger than I ever wanted it to be in my fantasy of what I wanted my body to look like. But I just started to fall in a balance with myself. And it all stemmed from giving up doing what I want when I want, no integrity with myself, to parenting myself. And another good word for that is self leadership, to do the things that I know will make me feel really good about who I am, even when I don't feel like doing them. And not for the purpose of checking the box that I did it, but the purpose of showing myself I value who I am and I am important to me, which is the building block of being happy.
Wow. So when you're with a client, for example, and
Mm-hmm.
they are where you were 10 years ago or 8 years ago or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
this idea of parenting yourself, I've never heard that. That is huge. I like you also said self-leadership.
Yeah.
Is this one of the first things that you teach them then for someone who can start to pull themselves out of it the way that you did is to parent yourself?
Yes, we do a little building up to that because
Okay.
I often say in working with a client or working with people is we've been looking out one lens, one window our whole lives. And I'm going to take you on a journey to have the same inner awakening that I had, that it's me. It's not anything or anyone else in my life. It's me. I'm the problem. And therefore, I'm the solution. And in order to have that inner transformational awakening, we need to start looking out the same window and start looking out through the same lens. So, to lead up to teaching somebody about parenting yourself, I have to lay a foundation of what it actually is to be happy and what happiness is. Because, like you said in the beginning, Brad, we're all searching for it. We're
Yeah.
all in this pursuit of happiness, yet we look around and nobody's truly, really happy.
Yeah.
So, what we think it is, isn't it? So, we have to really lay a foundation of, well, what is happiness? What does it mean to be unhappy? And how do we actually make the bridge? And that's where we start. And then we lead up to parenting yourself. Because if you don't have that foundation of really understanding happiness and what it is and where you're trying to really get to, then the parenting just becomes a band-aid of what's really going on underneath.
Oh, gotcha. Well, let's go there then. So what is
Yeah.
happiness, and what is the foundation that we need to lay for ourselves?
Yeah. Great question. It's like, it can seem like, well, that's an age, question for the ages.
Yeah, it's
What
like,
is
yeah,
happiness?
that's the 2000 or whatever question that they've been asking since the dawn of time. That's, like I said,
Exactly.
that's just what I was talking with my friend about the other day. What is
Yeah.
happiness? And it's like
Yeah.
every time I'm happy, it's like because I'm doing something specific, and I'm like, that works, but then that ties it to what I'm doing, and I know it's more than that. Like
It
happiness
is.
should be based on what I'm doing. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I think the best place to start in defining happiness and what I have found it to be for myself in my life, and what I teach my students and clients, is we have to understand what unhappiness is.
Okay.
And unhappiness
Yeah.
is our human pursuit of happiness. And let me explain.
Yeah, wow. Do please, yeah, go for it.
Unhappiness, I have learned through experience, is our fundamental nature as humans, because of how we are wired to look for our sense of happiness and well-being outside of us. And yet, all of us know, and we've all heard, no one and no thing can make you happy. Happiness is an inside job. We all know that. Yet we're all spinning our wheels looking for it outside of ourselves and getting a degree, starting a business, getting married, having kids, having the adventures and experiences, making the money you want to make, like checking all the boxes of what we think will make us happy. And in that pursuit is our human unhappiness. And how I define unhappiness is, I always want what I don't have. That's why we get the house, we get the marriage, we get the degree, we get the things we want. And it makes us feel good for a little bit. And there we are, the bucket with holes in it. And all of a sudden we're kind of itching, like, okay, well, what's next? And what else do I need? And what must I need to do now? Because that good feeling, that fulfillment is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we always want what we don't have. So unhappy is not an emotion. It's not about being sad, depressed, miserable. All those can be symptoms of being unhappy and feeling like the bucket with holes in it and nothing ever fills us up. And we always want what we don't have. But it's really a state of how we're living our life in that pursuit of happiness. So how I define happiness, similar, it's not an emotion. It's not a feeling. It's not joy. It's not pleasure. Those are temporary feelings that we can have from time to time, which are wonderful, but they don't last. It's not realistic to think, if you're going through a loss, say you're losing a parent, or you've lost a marriage, or you've lost a child, or you lost your job, or you're going through some other hardship in life, like COVID, or the things that we've all experienced collectively over the last few years, and being in a challenging time in our human history, we're not always going to feel joy. We're not always going to feel pleasure. And that's what I was chasing in my spiritual journey. Like, Get me to the place where I just feel blissed out all the time. That's what I
Yeah, yeah,
wanted.
yeah, 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 yeah. Me too. Yeah.
Right?
So if
Totally unrealistic because that's not life.
so if happiness and unhappiness are not a feeling, not an
Yeah.
emotion, then what are
What
they?
is it?
Yeah,
Right?
what is it? Yeah, what is it? The $1 million question.
So happiness truly, truly is a state of being.
Okay, I know what you mean. Yeah.
And happiness, how I define happiness is I only want to be me and I only want the life I have, not because of what's in my life. And my life is wonderful and great, but because I have a deep acceptance of myself and a deep acceptance of the life I have that I've created through my choices, and a deep acceptance that the reality of life is never know what's around the corner, but we can always know there's something around the corner. That life is not a straight line.
Yeah.
It's a series of ups and downs and challenges and hardships. So when I embrace the reality of life, that that is life and it's here for me to grow and learn from and to become the best version of who I am, then I can accept my life. I can accept who I am. And that's where I'm at peace in myself. And I'm no longer experiencing a lack or a want in my life. And that's happiness. And it doesn't mean I can't have goals and things I want to experience in my life, but it's no longer coming from a place of thinking that will make me happy. That will make me feel whole and fulfilled. That was my chase of losing weight was once I just get to this size, once I can fit into those old jeans again, then I'll be good and I'll feel good about myself and everything will be great. And then I would do that. And there was that nagging old emptiness again, creeping right back in. So it's when I accept who I am and I accept my life that I have a deep sense of contentment and peace in myself and there's no lack or want. That's happiness.
Wow. So happiness is acceptance. It's not want. It's not, it's accepting who you are, where you're at. So it really doesn't matter if you're 500 pounds or 100 pounds.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't matter the size of your house. It's accepting who you are and the life that you have. But like you said, you can have goals. You can desire more than, right? Like it's
Yes.
not wrong to like want a bigger house or something, for example.
No, it just has to, we have to shift our perspective from thinking that that bigger house is going to make us happier or more fulfilled in our life because it can't.
Yeah.
And actually making choices and decisions to pursue what we want in life from a place to grow and learn about who we are. It becomes a journey of self-actualization, of embracing life and the challenges, but also embracing the experiences that we would like to have, not for what are those experiences going to give me, but what can they teach me about myself? What can I learn about myself that will guide me towards becoming and being the best version of myself? And in that, I become my own meaning and purpose. And some people will often say, well, that sounds really self-centered and really selfish. And here's what I know through my experience. I was very selfish and self-centered in my relationships and my life when I was constantly pulling at the people and things in my life to fill me up. I was not being the best version of myself. When I live my life for me, to find my meaning and purpose in myself by growing and learning to become the best version of myself, my relationships become really beautiful because I'm with good people. I have really good people in my life. I come from good people, and I believe the majority of us do. Not to say we don't have our flaws and our shortcomings as people, of course. And in that way, I don't need the people and things in my life to be something for me. I can accept them for who they are and show up as Karyn, not fake Karyn trying to get something out of them. And I'm showing up as the best version of myself, which everybody benefits from. So it's really a way to live of being connected to myself, but also being very kind and loving in my relationships because I no longer am grabbing at my external world to fill me in some way because I've become full within me.
Quick comment and then another question. So, Karyn, I don't know if you're fully aware of the depth of the awakening that you have and how profound it is. I don't know. There was another guy. He lived about 2,700 years ago. Went by the name of Buddha. I don't know if you've heard of him. Basically, you're saying the exact same thing that Buddha is saying. Literally, I mean, I'm studying a Buddhist class right now through my church, and so that's how I know this. You're literally saying what Buddha said, and so you've had that profound level of awakening to understand that it's not about the desire. Buddhism says, get rid of the desire. Well, how do you do that? Is you just said is acceptance. So. Karyn, how can this is the tricky part? We're so what's the word, programmed, I guess, by society. Get the car, get the house, get the bigger job. What kind of, I mean, that in Western culture, a very common question when you meet someone is, what do you do? They want to know what your job is because they're going to judge you based on your job, which then relates to a certain income or something like that. But so obviously we know the bigger house, the bigger car won't make us happy, but how does someone switch? You had your awakening, but how does someone switch from, oh, it's not external, it's internal?
Mm-hmm.
Is it
I
just,
like to share it as to keep it simple
yeah.
so it doesn't seem overwhelming. It doesn't seem daunting because the other the other pushback to what I'm sharing that I've had and my students have when they're first learning this is, but I don't want to give up the things in my life. I don't want to give up my relationships. I don't want to give up my job. I don't want to give up, the money. And I always say, it's okay. You don't, that's not what we're talking about. You don't have to. I often say, you don't have to go be a monk and meditate in the Himalayas. You don't have to run off to ashrams. You don't have to take Elizabeth Gilbert's Journey of Eat, Love, Pray or
Oh,
Cheryl
I haven't read
Street.
that book yet. I still need to do that. I've heard that's a good one.
It's
You
good,
read it,
but
obviously.
I watched the movie.
Oh,
The
okay.
movie's great with Julia Roberts, but the her journey is really the pursuit of happiness. And it's like it doesn't work. It's not about running away from your life. It's about embracing your life. It's embracing the relationships you have. It's embracing the job you have. It's embracing the things in your life to learn and grow from them and learn to become the best version of yourself. So it, rest assured, you don't have to give up the things in your life. It's really embracing it, but making a very simple lifestyle change.
And
And
what is that lifestyle change? Yeah.
that lifestyle change, it's as simple as deciding that you want to work with a personal trainer and get in shape and learn to
Oh,
support your body. It's making a commitment of this is important to me. Happiness is important to me. And living my life as a happy person is something that I want to experience and shape myself into. And when we make that choice, it is a simple lifestyle change to go from seeking our meaning and purpose externally to learning how to live our lives from a place to make choices and decisions to grow and learn into the best version of ourselves in a simple lifestyle change to make choices and decisions not to get meaning purpose outside of us but to actually develop it internally and learning to make conscious choices and parenting yourself like I talked about earlier is a wonderful simple avenue of being able to slow down and recognize in any moment I have a choice. I'll go back to the example I used. I have a choice right now to turn the TV on and binge watch Inventing Anna or whatever new pop. That was the last one that I got into on Netflix.
okay.
Uh, Deciding, am I going to go binge watch that TV show? Or am I going to slow down to spend time with myself, to do something that I actually enjoy, not for what that's going to fill me up or give me, but choosing me to show myself I'm important to me and I matter to me, to slow down and connect with myself and spend time with myself? Or am I going to avoid that tough conversation I need to have another day and keep pushing it under the rug? Or am I going to put on my big girl pants and go in vulnerable to try to get to a resolution and go ahead and have that tough conversation and rock the boat, and recognizing we always have a choice. Who do I want to be and how do I want to show up and what's important to me? And that in itself can say, well, I don't know, I can't do it. No, it's a simple lifestyle change. It's why we are called grown up adults. We all have that capacity.
It's I'm smiling as I'm sitting here listening to you. I've just written some wellness programs, and the very first chapter in each one of the programs is choose who you want to be. Yeah.
Yes, yes, we have. It's that in itself can be an awakening moment for anyone listening.
Yeah.
You have a choice in
Yeah.
who you are and who you want to become. It's a really beautiful thing about being human, and we can use our life circumstances as an excuse of why we can't, or we can use our life circumstances as the wind against our sails to find our strength within ourselves and make choices and decisions to take our lives and take ourselves where we want to go. We all have that capacity, no matter where we come from, no matter what the circumstances, no matter what the challenges. We have a choice in who we are and where we want to go and who we want to be in our lives.
And as you were talking, I'm sitting here listening to you. A word came to me that kind of clarified a lot of what you were saying, and that word was attachment.
Mm.
As long as we are attached to the car, the house, the whatever, and having that, then that is actually unhappiness, as you were saying. And so for me, I guess listening to you today, I would say that ultimately happiness is about unattachment.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
said,
yeah. One way I would put it is yes, we create these attachments to give us meaning and purpose and
yeah,
identity about who we are, and I call those external values. And I have to be willing to not let go of those attachments or external values and get rid of them in my life. That doesn't work. It's how do I let go of the meaning and purpose I'm trying to derive from this relationship or attachment I've made, so that I can actually find and connect with myself internally. And then that frees the relationship up to actually be healthy. So I don't have to get rid of all my things. I don't have to get rid of all my relationships. I just have to let go of getting that external value and meaning and purpose from them.
yeah, again, the attachment. Well,
Mm-hmm.
this has been fascinating. I'm going to have to go back and rewrite the description a little bit for my podcast here, because one of the things I say is this podcast is about love, life, health, and the pursuit of happiness. So
Yes.
what
Yes.
what would you cross off the word pursuit, and what would you put in its place?
Mm.
Like just be happy, or
Mm.
yeah. Because yeah, it's you're right. It's not about pursuing happiness.
It's not, because it's not outside of us.
It's not.
It's I would replace it and really make it a statement, or you are the only one that can make yourself happy. Happiness is in you. It's not outside of you.
And so what? So okay. Another question, and this I think was from your podcast page too. There's a lot of people working their 9 to 5 that they're just miserable at. They hate it. The obvious answer is, get another job. That's hard for some people. How do you be happy in something like that then?
Yeah, great question. Really great question.
Like the fulfillment piece, the
Hmm.
happiness piece, when you just don't like your day job.
Yeah, great question. We've all heard, like I said earlier, we've all heard no one and no thing can make you happy. That
Yeah.
happiness is an inside job. And I also teach a caveat of that usually brings a little more pushback. We can all accept happiness as an inside job. And yes, I know no one and no thing can make me happy. I have to find it in myself. But my caveat that I add that was very profound for me is that no one and no thing can make you unhappy. That your unhappiness is also an inside job.
Yeah.
So until what I have learned through my journey and my experience is that when and my marriage is a wonderful example, is that when I'm looking for something to fill me up and give me meaning and purpose and give me fulfillment in my life, and it can't because of everything we've been talking about today, then I'm going to think that it's that thing making me unhappy. Well, it's
Yeah.
my job. That's what I thought. I thought my marriage was making me unhappy and my husband because he wasn't giving me the meaning and purpose I thought he was supposed to and filling me up the way I thought it was supposed to. So when I learned how to develop my own meaning and purpose and sense of value in me and feel good about myself, then I felt good in my marriage. And I began to see my marriage through a whole new window of like, oh my gosh, the only reason I thought that was what was making me so miserable and that's what was so unfulfilling is because I was looking for it to fill me up and it didn't work. So, what I share with people, I actually had a woman just start my happiness program this week. And she came to me and she said, my job is an emergency. Like, that's my number one priority. I need to find a different career. I'm very unhappy in my career. And I slowed her down. We're talking. I said, listen, here's the thing. Because I work with a lot of people who come to me, they've got a great life on paper and they think
Right.
it's one of those things making them unhappy, like their career. And I said, listen, here's what I really highly recommend. Until you work on you to feel good about yourself on your inside, on the inside, you really don't know what it is in your life that you would like to change. Because if you're unhappy on the inside and you don't feel good about yourself and you think it's your job making you unhappy, you're going to do the same thing you've already been doing your whole life. You're going to change your career. You're going to change your job. It's going to make you feel good for a little bit. And then you're going to be right back in the same spot. And then maybe you think it's the job again, or maybe you think it's something else in your life. I said, so work on you first to feel good about yourself on the inside. And then you can take an objective look at the relationships and things you have in your life, like your job, and make a decision from that place rather than thinking the job is making you unhappy. Because if you change that, again, you're just working on the external and it's going to be the same hamster wheel you've already been on. And what I have found is fascinating is that I'd say about 85% of people that I work with, Brad, who think it's their job making them unhappy and they work on themselves to become happy on the inside, end up loving their job.
That's crazy.
It's
Yeah.
fascinating. And then
Yeah.
sometimes, like the 15% recognize this is this isn't me. This isn't the right path for me, or this is a toxic work environment, but it's coming from an objective place, not a blame place, just an objective. Oh, I can see what's going on here. And they either make a choice to stay because it's not a good time in their life to change careers or change jobs, but they take responsibility. They're choosing to stay there. And then they use the toxic environment or they use that environment to learn and grow about themselves and learn to become stronger in themselves. Or they decide it is a good time for me to change careers and they look for a new job or they look for a new career, not from a place of thinking it's going to make them happy, but making that choice of how is this going to teach me about who I am? And how is this going to allow me to grow and learn as a person to be the best version of myself?
Wow. And very, very quickly, so back to the weight loss part, I just want
Mm,
folks to really understand this. So when you finally turned inward and did all the inner work, you lost the weight, right?
I did.
And kept it off.
I did. I did. And I want to say that part of my journey in learning to parent myself was learning to have a supportive food plan for myself. It was activity, but not from a place that the food plan and the physical activity was going to allow me to lose weight. It was flipped. That was structure in my life to learn to parent myself to make the choices that show me I matter to me and I'm important to me. It was in the choice in choosing myself in that structure that allowed me to develop internal self value. But it wasn't about eating the right foods or the physical activity that caused me to lose the weight. It was in choosing myself and making those choices to support me and care for myself that allowed me to feel good about myself on the inside, that then the weight started to come off and I'm just at a natural weight for me, which, like I said, is a little bit more weight than I would have thought in my idea of what I wanted to look like the model in the magazine. But I realized that's not what it's about. It's really about accepting who I am, the body that God gave me, my natural frame, and who I am as Karyn. And I often joke, I come from hardy stock. So I come from hardy Midwestern stock. So
Okay.
I was never going to be the tiny, skinny model.
Yeah,
And I know now that's not actually healthy. So I had to learn to just accept who's Karyn and who was Karyn made to be.
right.
And now I get to be free of worrying about that. Though as long as I'm parenting myself and caring for myself to make the choices to feel good about myself, the weight the weight stays off. And and then if I start to feel my clothes fitting tight, because I actually don't get on a scale anymore either.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's been so freeing. But if my clothes start to feel tighter, I'm just not feeling good in my body. I know, oh, that's a benchmark. I'm off track. I'm getting off track and doing the things that make me feel good about myself. Where have I not been parenting myself? And then I can get back on track. So my weight and putting weight on has actually been when that happens from time to time, a few pounds here and there, is actually my friend to let me, the knock on the door saying, Karyn, you've gotten off track. You need to recommit to doing the things you need to be doing. So it's become a wonderful gift. And I know it's a lifelong journey, but it's become a wonderful teacher to me and a really wonderful part of my journey and becoming happy.
And I just want to point out one thing, and I can see it in your eyes, Karyn, and your voice and your body language and everything listening to you. When you choose who you want to be and when you choose to go inside, you come from a place of love.
Mhm.
When you choose to accept yourself and no longer a place of fear. So if you're trying to lose weight, it's one thing externally coming from a place of fear, but then when you start to love yourself, accept yourself, you find yourself worthy. Now you're doing the same thing, but from a very different perspective, as you said, from a place of
Very,
uh,
very different perspective.
versus a place of fear. Karyn, how can folks get a hold of you? And you've got a
Yeah,
happiness program or something like that and a
I
website? Tell us
do.
about that. Yeah.
I do. So my website is a
Oh,
happinesscourse.com, where
okay.
you can find me and read all about me and my story and journey. I've got some great new blog articles up, one being how to feel comfortable in your own skin, which is very much based on a lot of what we were talking about today, Brad. So that's where listeners can find me. I do have a happiness program that teaches people a roadmap to learn to have that inner awakening and have that internal shift of how they're feeling about themselves, and then have a roadmap to make a lifestyle change to be happy. I also have a free masterclass that's a definitive guide to happiness that if anyone would like, you can message me through my website or shoot me an email at info@karynseitz.com. And I'm happy to send that to you. It's a lot of what we talked about today, but going even more in depth. And I love to be able to share that.
I'm going to email you and get a copy of that. I love to
Awesome.
always add to my library of whatever I can get a hold of too. So,
Great.
Karyn, this has been incredible today. Before we sign off, for the good of the order, is there anything else you'd like to add or say that you haven't already? Any last words of anything?
Yeah, just last words that I always like to say for everyone listening is no matter where you're at in your life, no matter what challenges are there, we can really feel like, oh, this isn't what life is supposed to be. Why can't I just get my life to be stable, to be where I want it to be? And recognizing, no, life is about the obstacles, it's about the challenges. So to embrace them. And when we want life to be different than what it is, and we have these expectations of what it should be that it's not, it's that gap in between those two that
Mhm.
creates all of our inner turmoil. So when we can accept life for what it is and embrace those challenges, it closes the gap and we can let go of our inner turmoil to really grow and learn through life. And then life becomes known that when I know life is supposed to be ups and downs, and there's always something around the corner, I don't know what's around the corner, but I know it's coming.
Mm.
And then I can be proactive and actually think down the road what might be coming that's likely to happen. Am I going to lose a parent? Am I going to move? Is this going to happen? So that I can choose how I want to show up and respond. So
All
I,
that will happen too, by the way.
yes, and
Yeah.
all of it's going to happen. So, we often like that phrase, I'll cross that bridge when I get there. No, 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 no. That's not a great way to live. Actually, okay, this is probably coming in the next year, 5 years, 10 years. Who do I want to be in it? And how do I normalize it to know this is a part of life? And how can I use it to grow and learn? So embrace the ups and downs. That's how we build resilience. That's how we feel good about ourselves and stop feeling like our life should be something different than what it is.
Yeah. Well, Karyn, I've got goosebumps. It's been a true honor and pleasure today. I've learned a ton, and you are and you're only 39. Oh my gosh, you are very deep in your understanding. And for anyone listening, again, I would sum everything up by saying it's an inner journey. It starts by looking on the inside. That's how you lose weight, keep it off. That's how you be happy all the time without being dependent on a job or the house or the car. It's an inner journey. It starts inward. Choose who you want to be. So again, Karyn, thank you very much. And for everybody listening here today, I really appreciate you being here. If you liked what you have heard here today, please do me a solid and share this video, share this episode as far and wide as you can on your social media platforms, your email list, wherever. This is really good stuff that we need to get out in the world, because so many people are still where you were 10 years ago, Karyn, looking on the outside, the house, the car, the job. And no matter what they do, they're still not happy. They're still not fulfilled. I was there for many, many years, and you're further along than I am, even though I'm older. I'm slowly starting to get, what you're saying. So please share this episode as far and wide as you can. And while you're at that, wherever you listen to your podcast, please hit subscribe to the Be Well, Be Safe, Be Happy, Eat Ice Cream podcast. And please leave me that 5-star review. I would sure appreciate it. Until next time, as I always like to say, this is Coach Brad. Be well, be safe, be happy, eat ice cream. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next time.